So once again, good evening. Some familiar faces and some new ones. In case of any confusion, this is not the positive thinking class. My job this evening is to introduce Angie. So Angie and Larry have relocated down from Newcastle some time ago, become locals, and Angie's been doing yoga for somewhere in the neighbourhood of 8 years. She's by profession a trainer, and she was saying that what inspires her is to see others achieving their best. And I do believe, given that she is a trainer, perhaps if you can ask if you can answer a few questions afterwards, there might be the possibility of being accredited for your time here this evening. Is that Angie? We can arrange something, yeah. So come see Angie afterwards, and you might leave with a certificate as well. So you can add that to your resume. It'll be interesting in addition to your resume, given that the topic tonight is about angels. So at that point, I will hand it over to Angie and leave you in her trusty hands.
So good to see you here on a damp old night, isn't it? It's nice and warm in here. Are you warm enough? Comfortable? Too warm? Is that all right? Okay, tell us if you get too warm, because we put the heater on. It was freezing before. So it's good to be comfortable. You don't want to be so warm that you fall asleep. We don't want that. So the topic tonight is angels, but really what we're going to be looking at is the angel within. So it's an interesting topic. And Tim mentioned that my role outside here is a trainer. So as any good trainer, the first thing that I'm going to do is ask you guys a question. And my question to you is, in relation to angels, what do you know? What do you know about angels? Oh, extraterrestrial and light. What else? Protective. Messengers of God. What else? Light, yes, we had light. Yep, they are light. What about this? Wings. So angels are so often depicted with wings, isn't it? And very interesting, the history of angels, because they've been remembered throughout history. And interestingly, it was around about the 4th century that the wings were added. So artists were doing representations of angels from time immemorial, as long as can be remembered. But around about 400 AD, they added wings. So why? Why do you think that? Possibly so. And I like to think of it in a more romantic way, that it was to depict this lightness. But look, I'm sure there was an historical relevance, but to, you know, this notion of angels as light. So I'm sure there's accuracy in the historical stuff, but I'm just going to be romantic about it and think that it's artists trying to convey the message about angels, that an angel is light, and so the wings help to convey that message, isn't it? And angels have been remembered. Now, I'm not sure about the extraterrestrial, but angels have been remembered, and I guess a term that you could be used is higher beings, that we are human beings, and we could consider angels to be higher beings. Would that resonate? Extraterrestrials. I hadn't heard that one. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting because there's some very well-known angels. One is Michael, Angel Michael, Archangel, and it's said that Michael slayed the dragon. And another very famous angel is Gabriel. And Gabriel was said to have appeared to Mary to tell her that she was going to have the child Jesus. And Gabriel was a busy angel because he had another role known as Gabriel. And it said that he spoke the Quran to Muhammad. So angels, there are famous angels. Angels are depicted in churches, graveyards. If you go throughout Europe, there's depictions of angels. So they're very well remembered. And they haven't lost any of their popularity because think now, angels are an industry. We've got angel books, we've got angel readings, there's movies made about angels. Back in the 90s, there was a band, didn't really remember, called the Angels. You want to sing their songs? I remember, but I'm not singing. We've got angels are a very popular Christmas decoration. Many's a Christmas tree that you'll see an angel on top. We like angels. We like the idea, and we've idealised them. So often you'll see angels depicted as little chubby babies with wings, cherubs, isn't it? So angels are very popular. We like the idea of angels. So if we think of angels as higher beings, and we've all got a bit of a notion, whether we believe in angels or we don't believe in angels, we have some sort of an idea about these angels, and that might just be a commercial idea. But I want to ask you another question now, and that is, I'd like you to think about a person who you would call an angel, somebody who you know or who you've known that you would call an angel. He's not. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And he might be listening. Danny's in Malaysia at the moment, but he might just be listening in. He's flown away. That's it. But he did tell me he might try to listen to the podcast. So it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon there. So he might hear. So apart from Danny, the angel, there'll be others. For all of us, there's likely to be somebody we know who we would call an angel. So just to reflect for a moment and think about that person who we might call an angel, a person that we know. And when I have that person in mind, to think about why. Why do I call that person an angel? Why do I think of that one as an angel? Because you love them, yeah. And we'll have lots of reasons. We're going to go through some details about angels tonight, so we'll touch on some of these. But just if you'd like to just call out a couple of the reasons, you don't have to say the person, although we've got a good start with Danny. So if you'd like to perhaps call out some of the reasons that you call those people angels. A loving heart, and I'm repeating just for the benefit of the webcast. So loving heart, very good. Virtuous, uplifting, selfless, as opposed to selfish, yeah. Always available. So we know people who we call angels, but they're not angels, are they? They haven't got wings. They're human beings, and yet we call them angels. So we've mentioned the actions that they perform. Why do we call them angels? So come back to this first thing that we talked about as higher beings. So these human beings that we call angels, we call them that because they perform higher actions. And their higher actions is what makes us think of them as angels. Would you agree? Okay, very good. So human beings aren't angels, and yet, in the sense of a higher being, and yet they do perform higher actions. So here's another one for you. Have you ever considered the angel within yourself? Have you ever considered yourself to be an angel? So before you go home tonight, I'd like you to be doing that, because an angel exists within all of us, and we all have angelic qualities. We all have wonderful potential within us, and it is a matter of realizing it. Often we'll very quickly be able to name somebody else, Danny, or somebody that we know, and be able to call them an angel and see the beauty within that one. But to do the same to ourselves sometimes is a different matter, isn't it? But it does exist. I promise you it exists. We all have that potential. So do you agree that the potential exists? Yes, no, mixed? Okay. Would you agree that I'll prove it? Is that okay? All right. So we're going to go through some detail, and yeah, Tim, there's some feedback. I don't know whether it's I'm not getting it, but anyway, thank you. All right, so we're talking about the angel within the self. Let's talk about what makes an angel. So first thing, are you okay with this? Higher beings, higher actions. That's the framework for an angel. What about attitude? What do you think would be the attitude of an angel? I'll give you an idea. One thing is going to be positivity. And I think that probably goes without saying. But there's another aspect to attitude that might not so readily come to mind. And it's the one who's an angel or have these angelic qualities, their attitude will be of detachment. When I say detachment, it's not that they're uncaring or unloving. In fact, it can be quite the opposite. That this detachment allows them to step back from a situation rather than get emotionally embroiled in it. And with this detachment, objectivity, they're able to be helpful and effective in situations. So let me give you an example of this one. So imagine there's a car accident and somebody's trapped in the car, and the first person on the scene stops, jumps out of their car and runs to the accident, opens the door and leans in to start providing help to that person who's trapped. This person's a doctor. So they have the training, they're equipped with the skills to be able to provide medical support for this person that's trapped in the car. Next car that stops, the person jumps out and runs to the accident and starts to direct traffic around the accident so that there's no further accidents. This person's an off-duty policeman, so he has the skills and the ability to be able to perform that task. Do those two people care or not care? Do you think? They care. Yeah, they care, but they're able to use their skills to be effective in the situation. Now another car stops and this person jumps out and runs to the scene. This person's a nurse, so she's going to be able to help. Would that be right? No, she can't. And let me tell you why. This person runs to the scene and throws her hands up and starts to wail. And this person's the mother, the person who's been injured. Her profession's a nurse, but in this situation, she's emotionally, of course, and I mean, who wouldn't be? She's emotionally caught in the situation. So even though she's got all the skills to be able to help, she's not going to be able to, isn't it? And we've all experienced this, isn't it? So when we get caught in the emotion of a situation, our objectivity, our effectiveness often disappears, isn't it? It's like we get trapped. And so it stops that effectiveness. So for the angel, it's not that they don't care, and it's not that they're not loving, very loving, but they don't get caught in the emotional turmoil of the situation. So they can remain as a detached observer to be able to be objective and effective. Yeah. So attitude, easy or difficult? Depends on the situation, depends on who's involved in the situation. If I was the mother of that person in the car, I'm not saying that I would be detached, not at all. Okay, here's another one. And for many of you that have hung around here for long enough, you've heard us talk about this a lot, and it's thoughts. So what sort of thoughts do you think that the angel would have? Yeah, they would have compassion. I'd suggest that they'd be having thoughts that were of benefit. So the thoughts that they would have would be beneficial for themselves, so that they'd be useful for them, but they'd be of benefit for others as well, as opposed to harmful thoughts. So the sorts of thoughts that are of benefit, and before when I asked about qualities of people who we know who are angels, one was uplifting. So thoughts that uplift, thoughts that are positive, as opposed to thoughts that are harmful, thoughts that bring us down, thoughts that are couched in waste and negativity. And there's a course running downstairs tonight called Positive Thinking. So it's all about this topic. If you've not done it, I'd recommend. It's a very interesting topic, because when we talk about the sorts of thoughts that we have, to have positive and uplifting thoughts, great thing to do, and certainly a very angelic thing to do. But often what's happened for most of us is we've got caught in the habit of waste thoughts, which really bring us down. They're sort of like white ants. They're insidious, and they get in there and they cause havoc. And waste thoughts look like doubt and fear and worry and blame and regret and guilt. I'm getting some nods, so you recognise, I think we all recognise a bit. So the angels will be having uplifting and positive thoughts, not to say they'd never get these other thoughts, but if they did, they wouldn't be entertaining them. They wouldn't wallow in those thoughts. They'd be looking to change them quickly rather than let them spiral. Because what will often happen, for example, if I'm having thoughts of concern, might start with concern, then they'll deteriorate to worry, and then they'll just go down the drain and anger might result, or full-blown anxiety. So, you know, we can get this spiral effect with our thoughts. They can start here, and very quickly they can end up in a very, very negative place. So for the angel, even though they might start having these thoughts, they won't entertain them. They'll look to change them quickly. Yeah, good. What about their beliefs? Beliefs. What would they believe in? Do you think they believe in themselves? Yeah. I asked before about the angel within yourselves. So this idea of self-belief, most important, to believe in the self, to recognise the inner qualities. We're very quick to see the negative side of ourselves, but to be able to have a vision on myself to see the wonderful qualities and the potential within. So if I have that belief in myself as this angel, then I'm also going to be able to believe in other people. So often, you know, we'll get caught up in people's behaviour. So we'll see someone do something wrong and we'll write them off. And we'll think, oh, they're like that. But, you know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets caught up in things and mistakes happen. Bad behaviour happens. But this belief for the angel will be in themselves, but also in other people. And that even if other people make a mistake or do something wrong, that doesn't mean that they're not capable of doing things right and being able to give a lot of goodness. And another belief that angels will have will be in the world. You know, before we listen to this meditation about healing the world. And the world's in a pretty sorry state now. It's there's so much negativity and there's so much sorrow out there. But is it hopeless? What do you think? I don't think so. I don't think it's hopeless. And there is hope. And this belief, this faith that the angels will have extends to the world, that there's hope and there's faith that the world will prevail. Let's talk about vision. Speaking of vision, you guys over here probably can't see this whiteboard, can you? Vision. So what will the angels see? What will they be looking at? Outcomes? Positive outcomes? Yes, definitely. Yeah. They'll also be looking to see the best in other people. So you sort of it links to beliefs, to look for the goodness in other people, because it's really easy to see weaknesses and defects. Very easy. They stand out like a sore thumb often, isn't it? So to be able to see beyond weaknesses and defects, to see the beauty, to see the goodness, to see the specialities in other people. Sometimes that almost needs X-ray vision. But to have that, and there's some people that, you know, we've really got to look hard. But if we look hard enough, we'll find it. So to really concentrate on looking for the goodness and the specialities in others rather than the, yes, we'll find them easy because we've all got them, So this vision to be looking for the best. Other thing about vision with angels, they're far-sighted. So their vision, and you can put this under a couple of different headings, I guess, but we'll leave it here for the minute. So in this far-sightedness that they have, they're considering consequences. So it's not just that they'll do something and hope for the best, but their actions are considered, and they'll be considering the outcome for them, but for other people as well. So it's not that, oh, this will be good for me, but at cost for everybody else. So remember I said about thoughts being of benefit? Same deal here. So they'll be looking in this far-sightedness to see that what they're doing is of benefit for all and not just them. The next one's a really big heading, and it's qualities and virtues. And you guys made the start of this very easy, because when I asked, what do you know about angels? You said they were light. And I think light-heartedness is probably a key quality. If you were to give a criteria and have to do a job interview to be an angel, Do you think lightheartedness might be on that criteria, on the job description? I think maybe it would. And this lightheartedness, it doesn't come by accident. To be lighthearted is actually a work in progress, because to be lighthearted means that you're not burdened, you're not bogged down, you're not trapped. And so for the angel, this lightheartedness means that it doesn't mean that they shirk responsibilities and run away and leave all their responsibilities behind, but they don't get trapped and bogged down and take sorrow from their responsibilities. They walk lightly on the earth. They might find themselves in challenging situations and in relationships that are difficult and circumstances that might stretch them. But even with that, they won't lose their lightheartedness. They'll work. It's precious to them. They'll work to keep that. And so for that, this lightheartedness, remember when I said about their attitude being one of a detached observer? That attitude will serve very well in this quest to be lighthearted, because if I'm detached, for example, I could consider myself as an angel rather than thinking, oh, I'm responsible for this, I've got to do this, I've got to look after that. Rather than thinking in that way, the angel is looking at it from a distance. And they might be saying, you know what, I see myself on the world stage acting out this role, performing this task. I'm an actor on that world stage doing that. And actually I'm observing myself from a distance rather than getting bogged down and caught and trapped in the burden of it. To be able to observe themselves doing it can help to keep you light. So something to think about if you're finding that you're a bit trapped in something or feeling a bit burdened. Take a step back and watch from a distance. Come and sit in the audience and watch yourself up on the stage performing with the other actors. Interesting thing to do. So lightheartedness is a very important quality for angels. What about peace? Do you think peace is important? Do you think people in the world want it? Yeah, I think so, very much. And for the angel, peace is absolutely precious. It's not something that they take lightly. Peace is very, very valuable to the angel, and they'll work to keep their peace. That's not to say that there'll be a walkover, that they'll let people trample them, and they'll let people, or they'll let situations that need action go unactioned. They'll do what they need to do and they'll be responsible, but they'll maintain their own peace. And in doing this, it's really interesting, because when they are peaceful, what happens to the atmosphere all around? Peace is an energy. Peace is a quality, but it's also an energy. So when the angel's peaceful and in a good state, that energy is flowing. And so it actually, it's also almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because for the angel, when they're peaceful and they're exuding this peace, it's filtering to their immediate atmosphere, and so everybody around them's touched. So if they want to be in a peaceful environment, they're creating their own environment of peace just by putting out that energy, and it touches everyone on a subtle level. So peace, absolutely essential. What about love? Do you think? Love, yeah. Starts here, self-love. So belief in the self is a part, self-love is an essential ingredient of belief in the self. And it's not to say, oh, I think I'm great, but it's a genuine caring about myself. And only with that love, that self-love, when I have that, then I'm able to love others and really love others and send love out. And of course, love can take all different forms. It can be friendship, and it can be companionship, and it can be family love, love of a mother for a child, love of a beloved, love of a best friend. So love takes many forms. But love is absolutely essential. You know, there's a saying, love makes the world go round. And I think it's right. What else have we got on this list of qualities and virtues? What about wisdom? So wisdom's pretty important, but it's not the sort of wisdom that we can go up the road to the university and get a degree. This is an inner knowingness. And with this inner wisdom, the angel's able to make good decisions, choices, do things that are good for them and good for other people. They go back to that farsightedness, that they're able to see consequences of their actions. And one of the wisest things that an angel knows to do is when to do nothing at all, when to just be silent. And it's such a powerful thing to know when silence and just to be still is what's required. So that inner knowing. Understanding. One of the very first things that was said from you guys tonight when I asked about angels was compassion. And understanding is to know that people do stuff. People behave in all sorts of outrageous ways, isn't it? And if somebody does something that's hurtful to me or someone who I love, often our reaction will be of anger or retaliation or a need to punish, or a feeling that that person should, you know, get something back for what they've done. But the angel will view it a little bit differently, and they'll understand that that person who's behaving poorly is coming from a place of inner suffering. That we don't do good things when we don't do bad things when we're in a good place. We do bad things when we're in a bad place. So it's an inner suffering that's going on. So if somebody does an action that's that's hurtful, the angel will, rather than condemn or criticize or feel a need to punish, will look at that person with mercy and compassion, and they might even try to help if it's appropriate to do so. So an understanding, important thing. Acceptance and forgiveness are virtues of the angel, because they go with this understanding that people do things wrong. Do we hold on to it? Who's trapped when we do? It's us that are trapped. So that ability to accept and forgive. A couple of sayings. I've got a Scottish mate, and he's got this saying, you know, when situations come, because situations happen, we can't, you know, we might be in a great place and something will go wrong, and all of a sudden we'll think, oh, what happened? You know, I was so happy, and all of a sudden this has come along. So life happens, situations come. And for the angel, this form of acceptance will be knowing that situations come, and they'll view it in two ways. One is, and this saying that my friend says, it is what it is. It is what it is. And it doesn't mean I have to try to force it, change it, control it, to accept, do what I need to do, but rather than resist, to accept. With acceptance comes a flexibility, so that the situation can more easily pass over me and keep rolling, rather than butting up against me and hurting me. So if I'm flexible, acceptance, it is what it is. And a couple of weeks ago, Tim gave a talk, and he talked about a lovely Buddhist saying, which is, this too will pass. And situations come, situations go. So it's great wisdom to know that, and the angel certainly does. So we're going to run out of time, but I'm going to just quickly talk about a couple of things. One's about miracles. So we hear about angels, that we hear about angels and miracles, they seem to go hand in hand. And, you know, religious organisations have criteria that need to be fulfilled to establish a miracle. But I think if I asked you guys, we all know somebody in our lives who performs everyday miracles. I know I do. I know a few people, but one guy in particular I used to know, we used to live on the mid-north coast of New South Wales in Port Macquarie. And my job put me in regular contact with the Aboriginal community up there. And there was a fella by the name of Jack. And Jack was when he was a kid, he was, you know, that AC/DC song on the Highway to Hell, that was him. He was expelled from school when he was 13. He was into everything. He was, you know, in juvenile detention. You name it, he'd done it. And he really was in a terrible way. But what happened for Jack, he came in contact with this guy who became his mentor. And as a result, he absolutely turned his life 360. He moved to Sydney, and he was an Aboriginal man, Kamilaroi man. He moved to Sydney and finished his education, his secondary education, and then he went on to further study. And he helped to found the first Aboriginal college in Sydney, and he became the director of that college. So he really started to give back to the community. Not only did he turn himself around, but he started to give back. And that was good enough. But the other thing he did was he had a farm up just outside of Port Macquarie. And he partnered with a lot of business houses and Chamber of Commerce in Sydney, and because they were having a lot of trouble with young guys, teenage guys who were getting, like Jack, you know, getting into all sorts of trouble, and really they were on the highway to hell, if you like. And so what Jack did was he would bring a lot of these at high risk kids, and they were boys, up to this farm, and for 2 weeks. And in this 2 weeks, they'd do a whole variety of activities. They weren't just Aboriginal kids, but they would learn some Aboriginal culture. They'd do bushcraft, they'd do farming activities. But the miracle was, and what transformed, was Jack's vision on these kids. And it was such a privilege to be able to observe some of this, that what happened, his vision was he saw through the addictions and the problems and the behaviour that these kids were exhibiting, and he saw the potential. He absolutely did. He believed in them. And not only did he see the potential, but he helped them to see the potential. And so when they started to see their potential, there was a very profound change. And as a result of this program, and it ran for some time, a high proportion, and not everybody, but a high proportion of these kids went on to go back to schooling and went on to activities that gave back to the community. So the path that they were heading down changed dramatically. And it was really, I do believe that it was back down to his vision, this guy's vision on the kids, that he not only saw the potential, but he allowed them to see it. And that was the key. So the angel can do that. The angel can see the light inside another, but not only that, but they can help the other to see their own light. And it's the most important quality. So how are we going? Am I convincing you? Can you see the angel within yourself? A little bit? A little bit? Because I'm going to ask you 3 questions to close, and I want you to go home and think about this. So, and we could probably have spent another half an hour on this, but I think, is that okay? I'm going to ask you some questions now, and they're not to be answered now, but they're for you to go away and think about. And the first question is this: what can I do today to make myself more angelic? You might consider some of the things that have been talked about tonight. Just consider your own life. What can I do today to make myself more angelic? Just one thing. Don't try to think of half a dozen things, then it gets too hard. One thing. One thing this week, you might pick another thing next week. And to consider that and then to apply it. Sound okay? Second one, this is homework. I told you I was a trainer. This is the second one. What can I let go today that makes me less angelic? What can I let go today that makes me less angelic? So a quality that I don't like so much about myself. And the last one, because this really is what an angel does. An angel spreads light. We talked about angels and lightness, and an angel really spreads light. And, you know, the world's in a pretty crook state, as we know, and negativity is increasing. And it's not always possible to act. You know, we see people suffering. We can't rescue everybody. It's not possible. And rescuing takes its toll on the rescuer too. But to be able to subtly send out good vibrations, you know, talked about before about that vibration, that energy of peace, to send out a vibration of good feelings, pure feelings, good wishes, good vibrations out to the world, because there's plenty of people suffering. Probably even sensible not to target them too much, because what can happen if I know somebody very specific and I say I'm going to target that person or I'm going to send all my energy to that one, we're opening up a channel where it might just bounce back. So we might get some negativity back that we don't want attaching to us. So good rather just send it in a big wave of pure feelings and good wishes. Send it out in a wave and in a general direction of a community or a family or a country or a workplace. Send it out generally, because you know what light's like? It doesn't discriminate, does it? Light just goes. It'll touch everything that's in its path. So if I send the light out, it's not that I'm saying, well, I'm going to send light to you, but I'm not going to send light to you, I'm going to send light to you. We're sending the light out to touch everyone. So this is the third question. Where can I send light? Where can I spread my rays of good wishes and pure feelings? Does it sound okay? Thank you. Larry was set up to remind me of that because he knew I'd forget. So one of the things we do, Brahma Kumaris do, which is a very powerful thing, we do it worldwide, is the third Sunday of every month from 6:30 to 7:30, we have World Meditation Hour. And in this World Meditation Hour, for 1 hour, we're sending good vibrations out to the world. And we do this in every centre throughout the whole world. And, you know, we've got centres throughout, spread across the world. So it goes through the time zones, 6:30 right across the time zone. So it's like a wave around the whole world. And you're always welcome to come along here the third Sunday of the month for that. 6:30 to 7:30, a third Sunday. And it's a lovely thing to do because with that collective meditation, it increases the power. But you don't have to wait till the third Sunday of the month to do that. You can do it any time that you want to do it. And it's such a worthwhile thing to do. And how do I feel when I'm sending out good vibrations? Do I feel really rotten? Do I run out of energy when I send out good vibrations? Do I get tired? It's interesting. It's quite the opposite. It's energizing. So when I'm sending out good energy and good vibrations, I'm energized. The opposite happens when I'm sending out bad energy. It drains me. So send out the good stuff and I'll get the benefit of that as well. Okay, so we're going to have some meditation, but just before we do, does anybody have any questions? You're a very cooperative bunch. Very good. Okay, so we'll have some meditation. I check over my body for any tension or tightness, any pain, and allow it to gently drift away. And I take a breath in, filling my lungs with life-giving breath. As I breathe out, releasing any tension or negativity and allowing my whole body to relax. Breathing in well-being, breathing out anything that causes me pain. And I draw my attention inward. And as I look inward within myself, I become aware of an energy of beingness and awareness that exists within me. Quite separate from the body. And this awareness is part of me that's thinking, that's feeling, is conscious, exists as living energy. I am this energy. I am a living light. And I consider what would be seen by one looking at this inner part of me. If one was looking at me, one who could only see the best of me, one who could only see the potential and the richness and the beauty inside of me, what would that one see? What would they see looking at me? they would see a being of peace. A being so comfortable in stillness and silence, happy to be introspective, and not just the lack of physical noise, but the space in between thoughts, inner silence, inner peace. They would see a loveful being, one who has self-honour, self-respect, one who has such an abundance of love that it overflows and touches the hearts of all around. They would see a being of joy, one who is happy just to be. Every moment is to be enjoyed. And even in life's challenges, looking for the benefits, looking for the positives, looking for the learnings. They would see my shining light, an inner strength and resilience that allows me to bounce back when life hurts. I don't stay down. I'm up again and continue. I'm strong. And my strength radiates a light that goes beyond me. And this light radiates from me to touch the hearts of suffering souls in the world. My light brings peace to peaceless souls, love to lonely souls, and comfort to despairing souls. My light is a light for the world. My light is infectious. My light helps light up other souls of the world. And the one who's looking at me, seeing my potential, sees the potential of an angel. Such inner beauty. Such loveliness. And when I consider that vision on me, I'm able to see my own beauty, my own loveliness. Very gently now, I'll return my attention to the physical, coming back to the room, but holding the experience of what's inside, what's been seen. What's been seen and will not be forgotten. Om Shanti.